When Elon Musk first hinted that Reform UK might be the political movement to transform Britain, Nigel Farage and his supporters could hardly believe their luck. Musk was not just the richest man in the world, but also one of the most influential figures online. Only months earlier, Musk had spoken at a post-inauguration celebration following Donald Trump's return to the White House. And after an assassination attempt on Trump in July 2024, he publicly endorsed him on X, tweeting, "I fully endorse President Trump and hope for his rapid recovery." While Musk's backing didn't make him an official part of Trump's campaign machinery, his words carried enormous weight. A nod from him meant global headlines, momentum on social media, and the possibility of huge financial backing. But that moment of alignment did not last long. Within weeks, Musk and Farage were openly criticising each other. Musk accused Farage of being too cautious and unwilling to take the bold positions needed to save Britain. Farage, for his part, doubled down on his own carefully balanced strategy, positioning Reform UK as populist but not reckless.
Musk describes himself as a free speech absolutist. The fact that Musk supports me and supports reform doesn't mean, as two grown-ups, we have to agree with everything the other says.
Now, 9 months later, that split has hardened into a full-blown feud. Musk is openly backing new rivals on the right, Advance UK, led by Ben Habib, and Restore Britain, led by Rupert Lowe. Both men once stood alongside Farage in Reform UK. Both now want to outflank him, and both are benefiting from Musk's attention. On the left of British politics, we are already seeing a fractured landscape emerge. The Greens continue to average around 10% in the polls, carving out a solid base of environmentally focused voters. Liberal Democrats, long considered a centre-left party, are polling consistently around 15%, giving them their strongest platform in years. Labour, once the dominant force on the left, is now averaging roughly 20%, far below historic norms, while Jeremy Corbyn's new party is also expected to be in full swing, further splintering the left-wing vote. Taken together, this paints a picture of fragmented political landscape. And the same trend is visible on the right. Not only do we have the Conservatives and Reform UK vying for support, but the arrival of Advance UK adds yet another competitor. Britain's political spectrum is dividing on both ends, reshaping the old two-party system. So how did Farage and Musk get from alliance to feud so quickly? What does Musk see in these new outfits that he doesn't see in Reform UK? And most importantly, can anyone actually replace Nigel Farage as a dominant figure on Britain's right? To understand this feud, you first need to understand Farage's long-term strategy. For 2 decades, Farage has been Britain's most effective political outsider. He's turned fringe causes into mainstream debates, from Euroscepticism in the 1990s to the Brexit referendum in 2016, and now immigration and net zero. But his success has always relied on a balancing act. On one hand, he energises voters who feel ignored by the Conservatives. On the other, he avoids the kind of extreme rhetoric that would scare off more moderate supporters. This strategy allowed UKIP to rise in the 2010s and Reform UK to surge again in 2024. Musk, however, is not interested in moderation. His politics, whether in the US or here, thrive on confrontation. He sees compromise as weakness. And when Farage refused to harden his positions further earlier this year, Musk concluded that Reform UK could never deliver the kind of political change he wanted. That's when 2 familiar names stepped into the spotlight. Ben Habib, once a prominent Reform UK figure, quit and launched Advance UK. His pitch was simple: go further, faster, and without compromise on immigration and national identity. Rupert Lowe, businessman and former Reform MP, founded Restore Britain. His project, too, was framed as bolder and tougher than reform. Both men had grown frustrated with Farage's cautious approach, and both quickly found an ally in Musk, who began amplifying their messages online. This is where the feud intensified. Musk wasn't just criticising Farage, he was actively encouraging people to join these rival groups. At one point, he declared that Advance UK could actually drive change, while describing reform as weak. For Farage, who has built his entire political brand on being the alternative to the establishment, this was a direct challenge. Now, why does Musk matter so much here? First, his platform. With over 180 million followers on X, Musk can turn obscure political figures into trending names overnight. Advance UK's membership reportedly grew from just a few thousand to more than 25,000 after Musk began talking them up. That kind of surge would normally take years of slogging on the ground. Second, his money. Before the fallout, there were whispers that Musk might pump as much as £100 million into Reform UK. That never happened, but the fact those rumours circulated shows the scale of expectations. If Musk were to back Advance UK financially, it could instantly change their capacity to campaign, advertise, and contest seats. And third, his global influence. Musk is not just a businessman. He's become a symbol of disruption. His involvement alone guarantees international media coverage. For small parties trying to break through, that level of global media attention is priceless. Yet, for all of this, Farage and Reform is still going strong. Polling consistently shows that he is one of the most recognised politicians in Britain. According to YouGov, his name recognition is above 90%, something that places him far ahead of figures like Ben Habib or Rupert Lowe in terms of public recognition. In fact, a JL Partners poll earlier this year found that 86% of the public didn't even know who Rupert Lowe was, even though he had just been one of Reform UK's very first MPs. That statistic underlines just how dependent these new parties are on Musk's megaphone to gain traction. Without his amplification, figures like Lowe and Habib struggle to cut through beyond political insiders. Farage, by contrast, has built 2 decades of name recognition through campaigns, debates, and headline moments. That is why, despite the feud, he remains the dominant figure on the British right, a position neither Advance UK nor Restore Britain can yet realistically challenge. Farage also has something the others lack: a proven track record. He can point to Brexit and argue that without him it would never have happened. This kind of political legacy is hard to compete with. Finally, there's the issue of voter appetite. A January YouGov poll found that just 1% of potential Reform voters thought the party wasn't right-wing enough. By contrast, 7% worried it was already too right-wing. In other words, the market for a party even further to the right than Reform looks very small. So, where does this leave us? Farage and Musk are now openly on different paths.